Call this portion of the meeting to order.
Stephen Italian, present.
Brett Simus.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. First up, 3.0, we have public comment.
We good.
What?
We open it.
Oh,
The Finance Committee meeting of March 31st will also be in order.
first on the agenda, 3.0, is public comment. Okay, no public
I think
comment.
there's a hand, is that a hand up I see there?
It's not yellowed out.
Are there anybody that would like to make a public comment at this point?
You look at the red dot.
There's a little hand up.
Yeah.
That wasn't yellow, that must be the difference.
No, I don't see any public comments at this point.
Okay. There's no guest presentations. 5.0, board discussion items. First on the agenda is the motion to appoint the interim town manager. I know, Steve, that you wanted to talk with Dennis. Did you have a chance to do that?
And I did, yes. I met with Dennis on 2 occasions. We discussed roles and responsibilities. I did want to get some further information, and it's really not a question for Dennis. It's really more of a question for our town accountant, just trying to see where we are within that line item of the budget from a balance perspective. But I'm perfectly fine with Dennis's appointment. We probably should just discuss the dollars on camera. I don't have his email in front of us. Okay, so I guess if you just want to talk about the hours that he would be contributing and the salary that we would be reimbursing him.
The hours would be 10 hours at his hourly wage of $62.86, up to 15 hours. That would be the top. Brett, do you have any more information, or did you get the email from Dennis?
I did, yeah. I was the one that spoke with him, had him write the email and forwarded it to you and Steve. And so I'm familiar with what's in the with the email, and I don't have anything else to add other than the information that was in there.
Okay. Are you ready, and Steve ready to take a vote, or
Are you in support, Brett?
in support?
Yes.
Okay. Take a motion to appoint Dennis Westgate, interim town manager.
I would make a motion to appoint Dennis Westgate as the interim town manager for the term hourly and hours that we discussed previously.
I second the motion. I second the motion. Aye.
All those in favor?
It needs to be roll call vote.
Roll call, yes.
Brett Simus, aye.
Okay. Stephen Italian, aye.
Maureen Winnell, aye. Unanimous action.
Brett, we
Barely hear you.
yeah, we can't really hear you. It's Kelly right now. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you great. Yep.
Okay. All right. I'm wondering if it's what's
Is the
going on.
volume on his
Yeah.
computer up?
Derek, are you there? Can you say something so we can hear what the volume is?
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me, but I can hear Brett perfect.
Yeah,
Just barely.
yeah. So there's something going on our end. Okay,
And
but you can hear us.
I can hear Derek just fine.
Okay. All right. So it's something with us. Okay. We just need to be quiet in the room when people are speaking until I figure out what's going on. Okay. Thank you.
Could we have someone notify Dennis Jim's appointment.
He's on.
Is he there?
Yeah, he's the DW, right?
Where is he? There he is.
In the middle of the screen, I think.
I'm always lurking in the background.
Is that working or lurking?
Thank you very much
Congratulations,
for the board having the faith in me. I promise that I'll do my very best. We've all had individual discussions on this, so I don't think that there's anything left to cover.
Very good. Thank you. 5.2 is a motion to approve Milford Area Chamber of Commerce 5K race. Is anyone here from the Chamber of Commerce or anyone to speak to the issue of the race? You know,
I would just like to add, I was not able to open the attachment as far as
No.
any details on the
I wasn't
race. So I would not be comfortable approving it at this point in time.
what in fact is the date of the race?
Where was the attachment? I didn't even see an attachment. Is that?
Did Sandy send out a separate email?
I think so, yeah.
Uh,
I thought
I
it should have been.
I can pull it up, but I can tell you though, I saw an email traffic from Chief Bradley who has approved this race. I can, while you're talking, I can go ahead and try to pull it up.
Is there a date on it, Derek?
I'm looking right now. I gotta search for it. Just remember seeing an email from Chief Bradley who had reviewed it and approved it. You can move on while I look for this. It'll take me some time.
Want to move on to the next step?
We can move on to the next one, yeah.
Shut everything down, so okay with it.
Well, we have so many people on, I don't want to do that.
Next item on the agenda is the motion to waive the tie-in fees to the water and sewer for the Upton Community Center project. Do either members have any questions, concerns?
I did not get any background email on this, so I'm not sure what typically we would be charging for that sewer tie-in. So just out of curiosity, I guess
Madam
I'd
Chair,
like to know.
for the building committee,
Yes.
the fees are $8,000 for water and $12,000 for sewer. With regard to the building permit, I believe the fees for the subcontractors fees were waived as well. So,
Paul,
Yeah.
well, can I just sort of jump in for a second?
Steve Kirby, the OPM is on the line.
Steve,
Yeah,
go
I just-
ahead.
Yeah, the contract with Hutter Construction, the building permit fee itself was waived. The other permit fees for plumbing, electrical, and so forth were not waived. The connection fee for the water is $4,000, and the connection fee for the sewer is $8,000, and that was also not waived. It's part of their contract. But in reality, they've carried in their contract. They're going to pay the town the fee, and then they're going to in turn bill you for the $12,000 because it's in their contract. So we were thinking that if we waive those connection fees, then we take a credit from them of the $12,000, and we can use that to put back into the contingency of the project to pay for things such as the ledge that we're encountering at the site now, or something else that comes up. You know, essentially, the town, keeping those fees in place, the town is basically paying the fees themselves. So we see it as being, financially advantageous to waive them, and then, like I said, take a credit from the contractor but it's that money still stays within the budget to be used for something that may come up that is unexpected. And again, we are hitting ledge over there, which we expected, but it may be a little bit more than we fully anticipated.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions? Brett?
I do not have any questions.
Steve?
Just curious, is there any way to kind of monitor that and keep in track? I mean, I don't have a problem waiving the fee, that's fine. Would you don't have any trouble with Hutter as far as internally the paperwork trail on that?
No, we've already talked to them about it. They weren't necessary for it, but the sections in the technical specifications clearly illustrate that the fees for any connection for water and any connection for sewer is part of their contract. So I do have the backup for that.
Okay.
And I had discussed this with Dennis Westgate earlier, and he has no problem with waiving the fees.
Hey, could we entertain a motion to vote? Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have a question. Why was Hutter against it? Can you explain the rationale that they would not support this, Stephen?
Well, because we're going to be asking for a credit, and they never want to give money back. We're asking for credits on some other things that are not. We're trying to improve the construction contingency a little bit. So there's some things that we're looking at as value engineering after the fact, and this is one that really doesn't affect the work itself.
So, it is customary. It's standard in the industry.
For something like this.
Yeah.
That's kind of where the question
Yeah.
is, just to make sure that we're not going to have any trouble getting our money back from Hutter. Hutter automatically built that into the contract. We have to basically get credited for it. So as long as there's no problem getting that credit.
It's going to offset somewhere else.
Mr.
12,000, something else that they're going to charge down for.
With respect to the change orders, Mr. Kirby is on top of them and reports to us, the committee, on a regular basis of his efforts.
Right. All this will be done by.
I assure you, he has the town's interest at heart.
Yes, I do.
We're ready for motions?
Yeah,
Someone make
I can
that
motion.
Okay.
I can motion it. I would make a motion to waive the tie-in fees for water and sewer for the Upton Community Center project. Stephen Mattelli, aye.
Brett Simus, aye. Second the motion.
Maureen Cornell, aye, unanimous.
Oh, 7-1, okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Kirby.
you. Derek, do you have a date on that 5K race yet?
I don't have a date. I do know that this is an annual event, and Chief Bradley has stated that he will work with the point of contact in years past through the chamber. But I'm still searching for a date.
Let's go to the next
What's it called?
5.1. It's the Milford Chamber,
We'll have
Milford
something.
area. Chamber.
We'll have something by the end of the night.
Okay.
Then are we going to address it next week if we meet next week?
Yeah.
We can just put on the agenda for that.
Okay, if they can find it.
Yeah, can't find it.
According to the online, it's Saturday, July 30th, 8 a.m.
We've got plenty of time.
Next meeting.
5.4, motion to approve and authorize the town manager to execute town hall sewer rehabilitation project.
Dennis, I think.
Yes.
I'm looking at their agenda. I don't know if we're on the agenda. I don't see the name of it anywhere.
Through the chair,
Yes.
So as the board knows, we put the sewer sleeving project out to bid a little while ago, and the successful low bidder was National Water Main Cleaning Company. Very familiar with this company. We utilize them for some of the other work that we've done around town. I've utilized them in past years in other towns. They're the big boys on the block, so to speak, when it comes to this kind of work. And they gave us an excellent price of $80,831. Our estimate for this project was $125,000, so this is under. So I'm looking for authorization to get the contract documents signed. Once the contract documents are signed, we'll have a pre-construction meeting, and the contract has to be completed within 120 days.
What kind of a timeline are we looking at on a start date or an end date or?
I would imagine the contractor is going to, because there's a time limit to complete the project of 120 days. Not that this is an extraordinarily large project for them, but I would imagine they're going to want to get in quickly before our summer paving projects get going and we get busy in other places.
Questions?
Yes, Mr. Interim Town Manager, is this paid for out of the enterprise fund?
It is out of our capital, which was voted on at last year's annual. It's part of the capital identified in the tie and bond report.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all for me.
Dennis, could you just repeat the name of the company again, please?
Sure. It is National Water Main Cleaning Company. They're local. Rentham, I believe. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Rentham.
Great. I'm all set.
All set. Take a motion to authorize the town manager to execute the town hall sewer rehabilitation project.
Okay. I would make a motion to authorize the town manager to execute the contract for the National Water Main Cleaning Company in the amount of $80,831. Stephen Mattelli, aye.
I second the motion. Brett Simus, aye.
Maureen Dwinell, aye. Unanimous action.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks, Dennis.
5.5, discuss the FY23 budget.
Just my own information, can you just authorize Derek to tell Dennis to do that, or we authorize Dennis to tell Dennis to do that?
Well,
Dennis to Dennis.
It's a serious question, actually.
It is because he hasn't been sworn in yet. Does he have to get sworn in? Yes. Right, Kelly?
What's the question? What's the question?
Give you the authority to.
Yeah, who's
sign
just
the
give the
contract?
authority to you, Derek, or to Dennis?
Well, it'll depend on what day it's signed. If it's signed tomorrow, it'll be me. If it's signed on Monday, it'll be Dennis. You're authorizing the town manager.
Thank you.
No pressure.
Yeah, everybody on it.
It's just last day, April 1st, on March 31st.
Yeah, that was March 31st.
I don't know.
That's how it is. He can't stand to leave you, all right? He's homesick. He can't stand to leave you.
Leave you. I guess Derek had some numbers up on the screen there.
I actually have.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So these are the budget adjustments for FY23. Kenny Costa's on them. I've been working with Kenny and with, sorry, I got two computers going on here. With Kenny Costa and Derek, and we've been going through these numbers.
And Cal, just if I may add, these modifications were forwarded to the finance committee as well. So And then we made the cross-referencing to the page number on the original budget book and the VEDA function number. And try to make it easy to people to match up where they were. So.
Does anybody have
Any questions from anyone?
So while you look at that, so clearly you can see that, I mean, this year's budget, quite frankly, is probably was the easiest budget to balance in the 5 years I've been in town. To a certain degree, we were fortunate enough that we were able to find money in the school budgets, with some conservative budget modeling back in January with BVT. We were able to, you can see, we found $40,000. Even with the pension, we had a conservative budget then because we didn't have the assessment by the time the budget was released. And strong work by the Board of Health that they did a good job of reissuing the RFP that we found an additional $22,000 there. So we look at what we had as a balance of a surplus, and then Kenny and Kelly worked with the various departments just to identify, I would say, emerging needs based upon the global climate right now with Russia and Ukraine. You've seen we've had increased fuel costs, and so we predict that that's not going to go away anytime soon. So the vast majority of the changes you'll see in front of you really reflect the department's additional requests for fuel costs. I would say, and I would say the outlier in this is that the town planner, working with the chair of the Economic Development Committee, had originally requested an operating budget of $5,000, and I had declined that request, given that at the time of the release, we were razor thin with the budget. And we didn't know what was going to happen with the regional school district. So, given that we were able to find some additional dollars, the recommendation would be to institute an operational budget for the town planner for the first time for $5,000. Just so we're clear, the town planner does not have a budget at this time. So it makes it very challenging for him to do some of the things he needs to get done. And then the last, as you can see here, we've done as much as we possibly can to try to bring back the roads article. It's certainly short of where we would want it to be, but it's better than it was 30 days ago. So, and then the last item you'll notice at the very bottom of the screen is the revenue reduction of $35,000. That is because we had hoped that this regional school district was going to pay an additional $35,000 to the police department for the school resource officer. They have pulled back from that, so that's no longer going to take place, at least next year. So we had originally had included that $35,000 on the revenue side of the ledger, but because it's not going to happen, we had to make that a deduct. So those are the changes that are before you this evening. Everything else stays the same.
Any questions, FinCom?
We've been over this. There's that one addition that jumps out. Maybe, Mr. Manager, could you just give a couple of sentences about the 63, 66 planning board? Strike that, finance department wages, I'm sorry.
Right, great question. So, as you know, we've gone through considerable changes over the last 30 days with the Treasurer Collector's Office. The most recent change, we have a resignation of a Treasurer Collector. About 5 weeks prior to that, we had a resignation of our Assistant Treasurer Collector. The only constant in that office has been Joy Foster. And because of the changes, Joy was a part-time position up until this time. We've increased her hours to 25 hours a week and changed her salary to reflect what she was as a department assistant now to a department specialist. Her role has changed within the organization. She's taken on more responsibility. So that $6,000 again is for FY23 will reflect her change in hours and her increased level of responsibility within the treasurer collector's office.
Derek, does that change in hours have any bearing on benefits? It's over 20 hours. Would you now be eligible for town benefits?
Yeah, she certainly would be eligible for town benefits. We had that conversation prior, and she's retired, and she said that she does not need to access town benefits. So
But
there's
she
not
still
gonna be-
will get sick, vacation and holidays, correct?
Yes, she would. She would
Which,
check.
under the job she had before, she did not get that day.
That's right.
So it represents an increase in hours and wages and hourly? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes. She'll now be receiving approximately $24 and change an hour.
Did that include a reclassification?
Yes, eventually she'll be she's already working with Sandy to go in front of the personnel board to approve her reclass to the next highest grade.
So that hasn't been approved yet, correct?
That's right.
Reed? Any questions? Brett? Any?
Any chance it's gonna be done by the town meeting, Derek? The meeting with the personnel board?
Yeah, I don't see why that'd be a problem at all. We have plenty of time. They usually meet once a month, Steve.
Good.
Or as needed, I should.
So, okay. If I may?
Yes.
So I guess my only concern would be, I don't have a problem with the $5,000 allowing the town planner to expend that money, but we already have within the selectmen budget, we have miscellaneous expenses under Board of Selectmen, and we also have it, again, we have some other expenses under the, I believe it's the town manager expense. So I think what I'd like to do there is I'd like to put it under the Board of Selectmen, and we should be aware if that money's being expended. So I mean, it would just require him reporting to the board, asking, what it's going to be spent on, and we could just approve it that way. But I don't think I want to add another line item. I think I'd rather roll that into our expenses and just have him bring that request to us, and we can then just go ahead and expend it. As opposed to creating, another line item with another expense in it. And the problem I see is, we have monies in town that are being expended, and a lot of times the Board of Selectmen have no idea, what that money's going towards.
That's what you're approving the budget for. You're approving it to say the town planner can spend $5,000 on. He should be support. I mean, I'm assuming Derek, he said, I need $1,000 for a membership. I need $1,000 for a conference, whatever the town planner does. I'm assuming he gave you support for $5,000. So that's the reason why we do the budget, is so we're aware that what he's doing. And when he submits something to Kenny Costa should be determined.
The town manager is, let's strike that, the town planner is a department unto himself. And every other town department has an expense option. So,
Right, but he's listed under our budget, so I don't want to have it another expense line item. I would like to have control over that expense, I guess is ultimately what I'm trying to say. I understand your argument, but I'm just saying.
It would be under selectmen, it would just be under planner, just like manager is, I think.
That's the way it should be.
You
Isn't it?
actually
Instead of
have-
operating,
Under wages, you have a town planner line item, so I'm sure you have miscellaneous in there too, under selectmen.
We have the town manager under there as well. They're all under there, and then they have their own line item.
Just a notation, we did put this town planner expense under the planning board category because he works with the planning board.
yes.
So maybe at some point, we would create his own department where he would have his salary and his expense. But at this point, for this budget, the salary is still under under the town manager's budget and the expenses under the planning board.
I don't have the planning board's budget up in front of me. What do they normally have in their expense line item, and what are we increasing it from? What?
Yeah, planning board's elected. It's one of the last miscellaneous.
There they are on the budget presentation. Page 105.
Again, those expenses remain steady year after year. They don't increase much,
But it's for the board itself.
but it's for the board itself, not for the town planner.
Can I ask some questions, Maureen?
Yes.
If it stays in the town planner as a line item, who would have the discretion over spending that money, given that it's within the planning board? Would the planning board have to approve it, or would the town planner be able to expend those funds at his discretion based on needs as they arise in his duties as town planner?
It would be under the town planner's discretion, submitting vouchers to the finance director or town accountant for final approval.
Okay. So given that, I think that for me, it makes sense to give our employees and leaders within the community some autonomy to make spending decisions on behalf of the community without having to go through the bureaucracy of coming before the Board of Selectmen to spend miscellaneous amounts of money on various activities that they need to engage in. So I would support leaving this $5,000 in the town planner line item so that he would have that freedom, discretion, and responsibility. The town approves the budget. We approve the budget and review it and look at it. And I'm perfectly comfortable with enabling someone that works for the town at his level to manage the $5,000 budget.
What line item would we be modifying then? As we look at planning board, which line item?
It's an additional line
It's
item.
an additional line item.
It's an additional account number and an additional line item that will be at the sole discretion of the town planner.
Can I mention two things? First, we get reimbursed for some of his salary.
Yes.
Will this also be reimbursed, part of that reimbursement?
Probably.
So we get 50% salary, is it
Oh, no, Derek's
No,
taking us that now.
that's salary alone.
just salary, no expenses?
Right.
If he did something for the town of Upton, I think the town of Boylston would
Right.
question why we paying half of something he did for the town of Upton.
It might, I think where I was thinking, Derek, if he did a membership, Boylston might pay for half of it, or a portion of it, a membership.
If there was professional development, he'd have to go seek those funds with the other community of Boylston. But this is the Economic Development Committee. They have things that they want to do with engaging businesses, promoting economic development in the community, having these small business workshops in the community, which many communities do. And so, this miscellaneous amount of money will help move that some of those ideas forward. Right now, they have no ability to do anything relative to economic development because there is no budget for it at this point.
I think the budget makes sense.
Madam Chair, may I, this is the first time this has come up in a discussion before the Finance Committee. Mr. Byrne has made his position known. I'll ask him if he wants to add anything else, and then if I might go around to the other members of the Finance Committee. We have they're all in the room except for Sean Craig, who is on the screen. So if I may, Madam Chairman, just go around and ask.
I just have one
start with Mr. Byrne.
I just have one thing. I still kind of think that the town planner should be under that Board of Selectmen budget, just like the town manager is. That makes more sense to me than the planning board.
I support that also.
That doesn't mean that they approve it. It's a line item. It's just like you guys aren't approving everything that Derek or Dennis does. It just makes more sense that they're an elected board to me.
I agree with
I
Jeff.
think it's neat.
I think the 5,000 is a legitimate expense and should include it under the category it's in. Another line item under the town manager. I don't think you want to put that out to.
Well, I don't think it's under town manager. Town planner is a department within,
Under.
yeah. I think it's his own, I think he should be able to do whatever else, you know, it comes under there where his salary is.
Nick?
Yeah, I just think he should be able to, as a employee, with his own department head, he should be able to spend the money as sees fit and deal with Kenny and the town manager to make sure it's reasonable.
Sean?
Same as what Nick said, what Brett kind of echoing them, hire at that level, perfectly coupled with a, manager being able to handle a $5,000 budget.
I ask Mr. Manager, what is his position regarding where this comes under?
I think it should be
under, as Mr. Byrne feels, or should we leave it at the planning board level? I know you're getting, your time is getting shorter here as we go along, but
I think that the $5,000 should be under the town manager's operating expense as a separate line item that will be pulled directly by the town planner for the purposes that he deems appropriate. We have plenty of checks and balances that are in place, from the finance director to myself, who sends a warrant every week, and then to the treasurer collector's office.
well, my question was, should the town planner come under the?
Yeah, he said town manager.
I didn't understand that. I'm
No,
sorry.
he said he should come under the town.
Put it under the fine.
I guess the only question left, and I think that all makes sense. We're kind of all trying to get to the same spot, which is fine. The only question I think at this point is, would it require its own account number?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then we'll put it under expenses.
All right, so that's going to have to get reclassified. You can't go with that number, right? Kenny Costa, is he here?
Yes.
If that's
What I would recommend is, can everybody hear me? Perhaps what we can do is we can create a new account under the town managers, and it'll be separated so the $5,000 is there. So when he receives his monthly report, he'll see the $5,000, and then he'll see exactly how much he has remaining, rather adding that into another account. And then we'll have to, then we have to figure out how much money he has left. So I think he'll always know where he stands each month. I think it's just cleaner in my eyes, in my view.
Okay, so your point, Ken, is to create another line under the town manager and carry the expense in that same line. Another town planner expenses under town manager.
Correct. So same department, just new account line.
He's saying the same thing.
All right, so.
He's saying the same thing Derek said, Paul.
Right, so from the standpoint of the finance committee, using what Kenny Costa just said as the motion, can I have a second on that?
Second.
That's his motion, that's a second. You want to, I'll take that as the motion. I made the motion that Kenny Costa proposed. You seconded it. Roll call vote. Paul Flaherty, aye.
Steve Byrne, aye.
Nick Ensko, aye.
Rick McGuire, aye.
Chuck guy.
Unanimous action. That's all I think the finance committee has on that particular line item.
Why did we just vote for one line item though?
I just wanted to get that squared away.
Okay.
Okay? Because I'm not sure where it's gonna come in.
Okay.
Right? I just have a couple of things that I want to bring forward before we get too far into this. I just want to, publicly commend Madam Town Clerk and, I don't know, Madam Assistant to the Town Manager, and Madam keeper of town buildings and whatever other job she has for the, the work that she and Kenny and Derek have put into this process. As Derek alluded to earlier, it's kind of been one of the easier ones in the last few years. So, but just from the standpoint, personally and on behalf of the finance committee, I probably thank Kelly for the work that she's put into this.
Thank you, Kelly.
And Kenny.
At midnight.
Does the FinCom want to make a motion regarding that increase of $6,600?
6366.
Do you want to address that as well?
Oh, you did.
We haven't addressed any of the other line items. My intent, Steve, is to try to get one number. I don't want to go through every line.
No, I thought you were talking about the chart with the modifications to the budget, the operation.
I just wanted to make sure they were all there. Okay, that number is included when you get to a number that is 27,029,028.
Sure.
So I don't have anything else on that.
Any other discussion on the budget?
Does the finance committee want to take a vote on the operational budget now?
Yeah. What, Kenny, can you,
You want me to share that number?
share that, the number for just the operational line.
It is this number right here.
2709.
Yeah.
Ready for a motion?
Yeah, you want to get, that number includes, that number includes the numbers that were put forth in the town manager's original budget report, plus these modifications that were made over the past 2 weeks. And that is the number there, that is to raise it, the motion would be to raise and appropriate $27,029,028 for the operational budget.
That's correct.
Right.
It's an easy number to remember.
So that's the motion.
So can I just mention one thing? The only thing it doesn't account for is that $10,000 of the recertification work is we voted it.
That's been voted as free cash. We'll address that down the line. All right. So do we have a second on that motion, please? Second. All right. Roll call vote. Paul Flaherty, aye.
Rick McGuire, aye.
Steve Byrne, aye.
Nick Ensko, aye.
John Gregg, aye.
Show that unanimous action. And one more thing, Mr. Byrne alluded to a $10,000 issue a couple of weeks ago when we were proving some of these issues. I guess I was sleeping because that 10,000 goes, it's going to come back again. Kenny, just so Kenny Costa knows, the $10,000 for the certificate, the assessor certification, we put that through as a free cash transfer at the annual town meeting. I plan on bringing that forward to transfer it to raise and appropriate as the first of $10,000 annual appropriations to get to the $50,000 required for the assessor certification. So it's an ongoing operational expense, and I believe it should be part of the operational budget rather than a free cash item. So I will address that. We can address that at town meeting.
If I may, I wouldn't recommend doing that because right now you have a balanced budget. So if we want to put that into operational, I would say then decrease the roads by that $10,000. That would be my recommendation. We have a balanced budget, and I think we need to by moving this 10,000 over, now the budget will be unbalanced, and I don't recommend.
You don't think there'll be and the opportunity between now and November, or when we set the tax rate, to make that up?
We might, but we have an unbalanced budget.
I personally believe it's an operational expense. So, however you do it, it's an operational expense. It's gonna go every year.
Understood. But however, my recommendation, if we want to make that operationally, I think we would have to decrease the roads or decrease the line item. My recommendation would be the roads by $10,000. If not, we would have a unbalanced budget.
Agreed.
Agreed.
And also, can I add other item as well? So by putting it as part of the operational budget, those funds need to be expended by June 30th. If not, they fall to the bottom line. So typically, we do keep that, and historically, we have kept that in an article. So if it does cross fiscal years, if there is any money, any savings, we do use those monies for the next reval.
It was not my intent to put that. It was not my intent to put that. I wanted to keep it as an article. My issue is just the source of funding. I understand because it's an article, it'll carry forward. We have historically done this for I don't know how many years, as long as I've been doing this, and we went since you had to do your triennial reval, we'd put away X amount of money every year in an article, and it was done through the through raise and appropriate. I'm not going to make an issue out about it now, but fine, we can do it now. But I would say going next year and subsequent years, it be put in as an operational item.
Noted.
Yep.
I do have the information for the race, if you want to go back to the race.
Okay, 5.2, motion to approve the Milford area change of commerce 5K. That's in July, what was it? July?
July 20th, Saturday, July 20th?
Yeah.
July 30th.
30th. From 7 to 7:30 a.m. Oh, because they have to set everything up. Websites and social stuff. Does anybody have a problem with that?
Training for the race. That's the first time I've seen the application, so I'm just trying to familiarize myself with it.
Average 100 lemons.
Kelly, could you please scroll to the top ones real quick?
I'm sorry.
I think they must have taken a year off or two of doing this.
I think during COVID.
Yeah, you can scroll to the bottom.
And this has got the approval of the chief of police, correct?
Yeah.
Any other approvals that they needed, or just that?
Just chief.
Okay. They don't have, the only thing they don't have on there is the route of the race.
They indicated the VFW is working on a new map for them.
Oh. I saw that. I didn't know if it was in.
Are we good with this?
I'm good.
Can we have a motion to approve the Milford Area Chamber of Commerce? Okay.
Pretty good. I don't know if you.
Brett, you good?
Oh yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Right. I would make a motion that we approve the Milford Area Chamber of Commerce road race on Saturday, July 30th at 8 a.m. Pre-registration, I think it was 7 a.m. Stephen Metellian, aye.
Brett Simus, aye, and I second the motion.
Maureen Vanel, aye. Unanimous action. 5.6, discuss and execute annual town meeting warrant. Any discussion?
Change of pages, whatever.
So there haven't been any changes to the warrant since the last time we met. Certainly the roads article, I'll have to make an adjustment there based upon tonight's conversation. And the COA van is $36,000. We got an updated price quote from Janice this past week. Other than that, everything is the same. I think many of you have attended the planning board's hearing regarding the zoning change. So that'll be included in the final document.
Derek, would you just repeat the number on the, the bus?
Article 22.
$36,000 based upon this most recent quote. Now remember, we have $45,000 in the Rockwood Meadows, so the total bus is about $80,000, a little north of $80,000. So
Because
say again.
The original thing that she had sent me was like 86,000.
That's I'm gonna look at it again. I just had it up. I have a total of $80,755.
Yeah, Paul, that's what you sent out.
That's in the.
Yeah.
Yeah, that quote, my question was, she had sent that to me and said that was, a year old almost. So basically, they're saying that the town is going to need, 42,000 or whatever it is to fill that gap. After there's $42,400 in the Rockwood Meadow Fund.
Right, but the quote that you're right, Paul. The quote that Janice shares, is from last summer. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. But they don't. But they said that Mike asked for an updated quote. And they didn't give him an updated quote. I mean,
If you're looking at this, you're looking at the email that was sent a couple of weeks ago to you, between you and I.
Yep.
Well, the finance committee had voted to as much as I believe it was $45,000, up to $45,000 to cover that. So.
But at this point, we're thinking the real number is 42,000 or 36,000. The balance that we need to come up with is 36K. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, that's based upon last summer's quote of 81,000, just to round up a few dollars.
It is.
But again, that doesn't include any lettering of the van, putting any town seals on the van. So at this point, you want to keep it at the article at 45,000? Well, actually, something? If I would actually keep it probably north of 45,000, because you can always make the motion at town meeting something less than. So even if they had a placeholder of $50,000.
45 and the 42.
That comes up to 87,000. Still well over.
The 42 and the 45 is 87.
So there's no need to go. I don't think there's any need to go any higher than 45, but we can always adjust it down. Whatever the real number is, we can adjust down at the annual town meeting. Or unless you want to just motion it at 45K.
Yeah, we said up to.
We said up to.
It's just that this is still 80,755 or slim.
Oh, yeah.
Eric just mentioned it doesn't include any of the.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. We're probably good.
But Paul's numbers bring it up to 87,000, so there's some room in there. If there's an there's some room at 45K. Yeah. We're good with that article, right? Yeah. There'd be no need to modify that at this point. Derek or Dennis, do we have an update on snow and ice, Article 10? I'm sorry, was there any more discussion on the plan? No.
Dennis?
We don't have it We're still tallying up the finals. I believe we're right under the $100,000 we had earmarked at town meeting. But I'll have as long as we don't get any more snow, I'll have a solid number next week. I think there's only a couple of bills that are still trickling in that we're waiting for. And I think the last time we tallied it up, we were within $5,000 of the 100,000 over.
If I may, I recall, I believe it was 97,000. The last time I saw it, when we paid bills this past weekend, I believe it was 97,000.
Okay. So 3,000 within the 100,000. But I think it's just about done.
The Finance Committee on March 10th voted to go along with up to 150,000.
Okay.
Because the number was still moving at the time. We understand that, if you don't need it, you're not going to spend it. So
You seem in pretty good shape right now, barring no snow.
well, it was 19 years ago on April 1st. And 27 inches.
What are you guys doing?
So are we,
Not snowing on Derek's last day.
so are we comfortable with $100,000 on the warrant?
You can still change, can it?
Well, yeah, when is the
Yeah,
warrant actually?
Well, they're executing the warrant.
Oh, they're doing it today?
Yeah, so that's the question. You want to up it to
The warrant
105?
will allow you to change it.
Yeah, well,
You
no.
go for snow and ice.
Yeah, I know this.
So if you have to change it, I would change it to 120. If you're gonna change to anything, then you go down.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do that. Unless, of course, we have another snowstorm when Dennis is doing double duty on the coast.
So what's,
They don't get much snow in Plymouth, I did that, Derek.
Actually, a good question might be is, Dennis is typically, and I know you gave us this worksheet before, I don't know if FinCom has seen it. Typically in a salting event, what does that typically cost the town? So say we have a snow event or an ice event, we have to salt the town. What does that typically cost? And I'll give you gentlemen an idea what we may need for a buffer.
If we don't have to drop plows and we don't call in hired contractors, generally we do 2, sometimes 3 rounds of treatments. If you're getting a combination of sleet and freezing rain or a light snow that we can burn off, the trucks will do 3 rounds each. And you're looking at probably about $10,000, $12,000. To put in perspective, the difference between a full-blown snowstorm, the blizzard that we had cost us about $75,000.
I'm not concerned what the number is. The number is going to be the number, whatever it is. So, if we're confident that we're not going to get another storm that's going to knock us 75,000, well, fine. I agree that a reasonable person would expect a moderator to, if you put him in 120, it would have came out to 130. I would assume he'd allow it. So if he doesn't, it goes on the tax rate for next year. That's all.
Well, we already approved it up to 150, so it's up to selectmen whether they want to leave the warrant as is or give yourself a buffer.
I prefer a buffer.
I agree. I don't think we need to go 150 for a buffer, but I think that we should have a little buffer in there. We know where we're sitting now. If Kenny's got us squared up and we're at 97,000, we know that's the number.
Right.
If something comes down the road, obviously, it'd be nice to have a little buffer.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, Mr. Blair.
Mr. Interim Town Manager, give us a number. Your first official duty.
We didn't even let Brett chime in yet. You have to let the board deliberate a little.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. I appreciate the recollection that I'm here. So
You usually don't let us forget.
Exactly. So does this affect Kenny's balanced budget? Because if so, I think that it doesn't.
No.
Okay, so yeah, I can't imagine why we wouldn't just put a little bit of a buffer in and whatever that number is, whether it's 10,000 or whatever the interim town, or upcoming newly nominated or appointed, not sworn in interim town manager recommends.
Derek, Dennis, we're waiting.
Nothing like putting me on the spot right off the get-go, huh? You know, I don't have a crystal ball, but we can always reduce it on town floor. That's the good news. And like Paul said, the number is what the number is going to be. I think you should vote it for 120 or 125 for the buffer. I wouldn't go 150. I think that's, you know, unless we get a blizzard, but then all bets are off.
Sounds good to me. 125.
Let's do 125. Okay. Again, we're going to motion whatever it is anyway. So
Yes.
if it ends up 97,000, the motion will be 97,000. If for folks listening at home, it's not that we're, you know, throwing money out the window. We're just allowing ourselves, you know, a little bit of insurance. Yeah. 125. That was that.
Back in free cash.
Yeah.
That was all the questions.
Awesome.
Any other discussion? Brett, Steve, anyone?
Let's see. There was
There
another article that's right up.
There was an email today that came from a resident asking to move Article 23 up on the warrant, and I wasn't sure what the appetite, interest, or implications were of considering such a change.
Do we have to do that at town meeting? You can do, what is it, a point of order with the moderator to move a question, it has to be voted.
Actually, that's a really good idea, Maureen, because it's probably easier for the moderator to take it out of order. And the reason I say that is we have at least one article that required a planning board hearing. That was for the zoning change. And typically when they post the hearing, they identify the article number. So if we move them, if we reshuffle the deck, that would have changed the article number for that planning board hearing.
Right.
So, I think someone could easily stand and ask to take it out of order at town meeting.
Okay, perfect. We'll just want to make sure maybe that we communicate with that resident so they understand how town meeting protocol works.
That could be a request from the Board of Selectmen or to take it out of order, or it's a money article, the chairman of the FinCom, whichever.
A resident could do it.
A resident could do it.
I think one thing that's
Wait for the rest of us throughout town meeting and wait for it to come.
enjoy the whole meeting. I think one thing that for folks listening to the meeting, it's important to note is there are consent calendar articles. So we don't, you know, necessarily address each article. Some of these get voted in bunches. And I don't really see any hot button topics other than, of course, it's a large tract of land for a whole lot of money. So I think that's going to be the discussion, but I don't really see any other hot button topics here that are going to slow down the warrant. So even if we take it in order, I think folks listening, you know, I don't think that we're going to be sitting there at 9 o'clock just getting around to, you know, Article 23. I mean, I would think we're going to get to it relatively quick if it stays in order, would be my thinking.
But the residents have the option to move it on town meeting floor. So,
Requires a.
That's correct.
there's the-
Just so you know, the resident did put something in the chat. It's right here. I'm
Yeah,
just,
well, that happens.
I just wanted to point out.
Okay. We will consider it.
What you just said, you want to agree on, so go on budget.
One of us got to leave town. That's not good. Enjoy these meetings. I can't believe that anybody would want to leave the meeting early. It's really hard.
No problem.
Once a year.
Let's, if we could, we're beyond.
I think we're beyond All the discussion, right? No other
Well,
discussion?
I do have one other.
No?
We
Okay.
brought this up at the last meeting, the board discussed it, FinCom's here, so I guess I'd just bring it up in front of FinCom and in front of the board one more time. You know, I don't see Article 21. I see that, I made the comment at our previous meeting, is I don't see anything in this for the taxpayer. We already have an OPEB liability that, depending on which column you want to read in the report, is somewhere between $8.5 and $10 million. OPEB liability, and there's, I don't know what the state's position is going to be on when we have to start, funding that at a greater rate. But I don't see how taking on more pension liability is a good idea at this point in time, given many factors, especially the state of the economy. And the other thing is, I'm not convinced as to how many people this could affect. So, if there's an article I'd like to do, I think we should sit with the personnel committee, and get an idea of what this is going to really cost. So I think this is something we address in November and not address this in May. So Article 21, again, I think that's something that we should get a better look and really understand long-term what is the cost to an article like that. Thoughts? Any support?
I would rather see the annual town meeting, actually.
Any particular reason?
It's just, I think it should be, that's the best place to have it. That's where the most people come, is the annual town meeting. Get more of a vote.
Just, Madam Chairman, just a comment from a procedural standpoint. When you look at that article, does that involve the Worcester retirement group to do an actuarial study for, let's say, person A who comes in and says, I want to buy time for my retirement? Does that go to the Worcester actuarial committee and say, okay, you have this many hours, that therefore the present value is this, and this is what you have to buy in for? Is that who makes that determination as to what people pay? How is that done? I guess. No question.
Well, my thought would be ask Mr. Costa.
Mr. Costa?
Yes.
But Derek's shaking his head, yes.
Yes, the Worcester. So what would happen in this case? The employee would apply to the Worcester Regional. Worcester Regional would ask for personnel records so they can determine the number of creditable years. They have a formula. I think it's a factor of 5 to 1. I think it is. So if every 5 years served as a auxiliary firefighter or a police officer, that would equate to 1 year of service. And then they would determine, usually you can only buy 4 years, typically only up to 4 years of credible service. And so then that'll be based upon your pay of how much you would pay to buy those years of service back.
Okay.
And it is capped, right? Is it 4 years, 5?
I think you can only buy 4 years back. I think you're not allowed to buy more than 4.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, this is a very common practice. Is that correct, Derek?
It's extremely common for military. So there's no statute required to buy back military time. So for example, the military, if you serve 20 years in the Air National Guard, you can buy back 4 years of credible service towards your pension, and that would be based upon your entry pay into that specific retirement system. And it's the factor of 10%. So if an individual is making $100,000 on their first day into that retirement system, they have to pay $10,000 per year times 4 years. So they have to have a total sum of $40,000 to buy back those 4 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Clarity.
Just out of curiosity, what precipitated this going on the warrant?
Honestly, I think it's primarily driven because we have a new chief that served over 3 decades as a call firefighter.
problem I see moving forward is you have other employees in town that are also called firefighters. So now if you start having everybody start buying time, you may be facing
They have
early
to go into
retirements.
the retirement system.
But they have to become full-time firefighters or full-time police officers.
Yes, in order to buy back time.
I don't know if that's,
And I believe you also have to be in that job as a full-time employee for 10 years, is it?
I believe
I
that's.
think that's the case.
I believe some of these are button and a buttonhole. And that's what I'm worried that we are creating. Because I've had friends that work in other municipalities go from department to department, and it's the same retirement system. And
But
Yeah,
they're
that's what
still, they're still a full-time employee, it doesn't matter what department they're in. A lot of these ones, if it's buyback all over, or anybody in the system, anybody employed, but it has to be a full-time job.
but I get back to my opening statement. What's in it for the taxpayer? Other than more OPEB pension liability. That's all.
Well, you're getting someone who's been on call now becoming permanent. They're giving a benefit instead of them going to another town that are gonna be permanent for Upton instead of temporary. I thought it was just temporary firefighter to full-time firefighter, temporary police officer to full-time police officer.
That's all.
Get it?
A call fireman at this point could not buy back any time, he'd have to.
No, I get it, but could a call fireman become the treasure collector?
Yeah.
Potentially.
Good.
Well, no, that would-
It could, but the way the article reads, the way the sentence reads, it's not, it's,
They're excluded.
they have to,
They're excluded.
yeah.
They have to stay in firefighter.
It
They have to
was,
stay
shall
that
be,
way.
yeah, shall be credited only if such firefighter was later appointed as a permanent member of the fire department.
Right.
So that begs the question, if you're looking forward and let's say that person does work part-time, police, fire, and then goes in to be treasurer collector and is full-time for 10 years, and they come back on the town and say,
Not according to the.
Depends what way the article's
They'll fix that later.
It's written.
You'll have to modify it later.
Madam Chairman, with all due respect, this is the question here, is not to debate the benefits of the article, it's to debate whether or not you want to put it on the warrant, am I correct?
Yes.
Right, we're trying to figure out
I
cost
believe that
is the problem. It's cost and what's potential liability.
So
That's the
maybe
problem. You know, is how do you determine potential liability down the road?
it should this,
So my,
something the taxpayer should decide.
Well, that's what I just said. All articles should go on the warrant.
I don't look at this as a cost.
But Brett
I'm looking at it
has,
as a cost.
Brett?
thank you. So my opinion is that this should be included on the warrant. It's something that serves multiple purposes. Primarily, it incentivizes folks in the town of Upton as well as full-time employees, and it's a benefit that we extend to some of our public safety servants. And I think that that's an honorable thing to do. And I think that if the folks on town meeting floor are concerned about OPEB liability, then they will raise that point, or it can be raised by anyone that's participating in town meeting. But I can't imagine why we wouldn't allow this to go forward on the warrant and let town meeting and the folks that participate in town meeting make the decision.
What are you gonna get, what this is gonna cost? Should be extremely
That's
difficult
not
to
the
do.
question.
Yeah, no,
Question is,
I'm just saying, just to go along with it, I don't even know how you would estimate that. You need a specific person, how long, how many hours they did, I mean, it'd be very difficult, I don't.
or an
You have to go
example
back
of a
years.
fictitious person.
But to Steve's point, there's cost impact to this. But there's an outweighing benefit. Which is different, I agree.
Okay. Are we ready to take a vote to execute the annual town meeting warrant?
I make a motion that we execute the final version of the town meeting warrant that we have before us. Brett Simus, aye.
Second motion, Stephen Mattelli, aye.
Maureen Dwinell, aye. Unanimous action. Six point zero, town manager report and updates.
Keep going.
So I don't have any new information to provide. As you all know, this would be my last meeting with you all serving in this capacity. So I just want to say that I appreciate the last 4.5+ years that I've had in town, and I can tell you that my first month in Plymouth is more than I expected, and I'm certainly going to miss working in the town of Upton. So again, I just kind of, I've said this before, and but I really appreciate, everything that you guys have done. We've worked together the last 5 years. We've debated, we've deliberated, we've done some good things. So I know you guys will be in good hands with whoever the board chooses as the next town manager. I'll be certain to be by to, have drinks over at the brewery, and hopefully I'm invited to the ribbon cutting ceremony, hopefully sometime this December. So again, I appreciate everything, and I'm not going to say goodbye, because I know I'll stay in contact with many of you moving forward. So if you're ever in Plymouth, give me a shout. We can eat oysters and hang out.
Do you have a tab at the Cabbie Shack?
I don't go to the Cabbie Shack. I'm a little more classy than that, Mr. Flaherty.
I'm just saying it's cheap. I mean, if we go in and say Derek Brindisi sent us, can we just sign your name?
You can do that at East Bay. How's that?
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Cabbie Shack? Cabbie Shack. And that's supposed to be a monument or some sort of a fancy landmark down there, or what?
It's a sit outside, have a few bops, and
Sounds like it's going to East Bay, though.
yes.
I've done well, please.
Right,
That's oysters, right?
Well, I hope you enjoy your job, Derek. Sounds like you're very busy.
Do they have you wearing wooden shoes just yet?
What's that, Steve?
So do they have you wearing wooden shoes down there, old Plymouth Plantation?
Well, the first pair of shoes I've already burnt out. I've been running so much, so the wooden shoes would be a good thing.
I know we've had a few goodbyes, Derek, and a few sort of recognition moments, but just to get it on the record, it's been a great 5 years having you in town. It's been great working directly with you. We've definitely got a lot done over the past several years working together as a team. I think it's that teamwork and that team spirit that you brought to the table, along with the professionalism, the diligence, the around the clock responsiveness, all really led to a very successful stint here in the town of Upton for you. So we're fortunate and grateful for your service and your friendship. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Brett, that sounds like a eulogy for crying out loud.
I'll speak at your eulogy if you want, Paul.
Are we all set? I'll take a motion from the board members to adjourn the meeting.
Brett, did you have anything else to say? We good?
Forget that. Sean, don't sign off, Sean. We got a couple things to do, please.
The only thing I did want to do was acknowledge Linda Gay's comments that she put in the meeting chat. I know, Kelly, you want to have her call you, but just so that the public knows, right? Like, she asked about considering babysitting in our decision about whether or not to move Article 23 up in the warrant. And I'm not sure, she may or may not have caught the fact that can be done right on town meeting floor. But she said there are a lot of requests of this nature, and she would ask that we make an accommodation. So we want to review the protocol on the night of the town meeting. So it sounds like, she wanted to share that feedback. She understands where we've landed. Kelly will talk with her tomorrow, but I at least wanted to acknowledge that, because I'm never quite sure what to do with a conversation that happens in the meeting chat. So I thought I would read that and get it on the verbal record as well. So that's it for me. Thank you. I'm all set.
Thank you, Brett.
And yeah, I was going to say, I also would like to wish you congratulations, Derek, and good luck in Plymouth as well.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And with that, I will make a motion. The Board of Selectmen adjourn this evening's meeting. Stephen Mattelli, aye.
I second the motion. Brett Simus, aye.
Maureen Dwinell, aye, unanimous action.
Let the record show that the finance committee is still in session.
Thank you, folks. Have a great night.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you
Good evening, everyone.
See ya.
Sticking around?
So.
Right, attached to the other.
Yeah, we're not done. Okay, I'm sorry.
I gotta go to paper and pencil.
To be adjusted based on what we spend. Well, it was written by Steve, and with the changes in the budget we just went through, it'll change slightly, but it's just a review of that.
I'll sit in for a few minutes, sure.
I don't want
Keep you guys company.
to talk about now.
I was honest.
This, finance committee book has to go to the printer on a week from tomorrow. And I think we have everything in order at this time. I just want to go over the preamble, or what I use for description of what Mr. Berg has put together. So do you, I mean, I've read it several times. I don't have that many changes there. You may want to put in, I think, and you and I have talked about recognizing some of these changes before. And as we had alluded earlier, we have, the finance committee has not addressed the article regarding the land purchase on Mechanic Street. And at this time, there's just too many moving parts. There's too much stuff going on for us to take a valid position on it. At town meeting, hopefully there's enough information coming forward that we can make a thought out recommendation as to how this, what we think the way this thing should proceed. And that we all agreed on at that last meeting. So, Steve?
What do we need to provide? We just need to provide the Word document and the variance overview. Those are the only two documents we need to provide?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think the only thing that I would ask is if anyone has any comments on the variance overview. Is Kenny still on?
Well, I don't know.
No.
I'm here.
Okay, Kenny.
Yeah, Kenny, you were the one who provided the most comments before, so I don't know if you've seen the file that we sent around for the variance overview. If you want to take a look at that and just kind of make sure that makes sense, or I can send you another copy. I'll send you a final version after what we did tonight. I'll send that out to, I guess, Kenny, Derek, and we can send it out to you guys. The only other thing is comments on the recommendation letter itself. I'll add something on Article 23, just a reference to the moving parts. But other than that, I think it's in, you guys just need to tell me what you want to change, anything, if you want to add anything.
I gave you my change early on.
I think it's job well done. It's excellent. The only comment I had was on the second page on the bullets, the very last bullet. It said DPW increase of 9.5%, 110,000. Includes, we know we're adding one person, then you have merit increase, a step, whatever, that sort of thing. But the question I had is based on what's the denominator. I think we have over 20 people in the whole of DPW. So shouldn't that number be less than 10%?
So we're comparing to a budget number that had an increase for the special town meeting when the contract was done.
There were four changes at the November town meeting, which are not reflected, okay? Because we're voting, we're comparing now to what we voted last May or June, and like we added $17,000 to the DPW just for that person, okay?
Right.
That doesn't show the last year. That's because you're comparing now to what we voted in June, I guess it was, whatever the annual town meeting was then.
And so it's 25 of it at least was, so this, in the variance overview column, we have the FY22 budget.
Yeah.
And this is the special town meeting. This will never be in Vadar.
Okay.
Right, so when I'm quoting that 9.5%, it's comparing this to this, the FY23. We're showing it as FY22 total, but Vadar just shows FY22 budget. So the additional allocation is not shown. So, but when I'm using that percentage, it's comparing the budget plus a special town meeting.
Okay.
To plus the changes in the budget, plus the changes in their contract for FY23 against the FY22 number before all of that.
Okay.
So it's like a double, it's a double whammy.
The November numbers are what really skew it. That's what.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
if
It's like $25,000 just.
if you had capacity, to say
My only point was I thought it would be lower.
Annual.
Yeah.
added special,
I can send you what.
it's easy.
Okay, just
But
curious.
the way we do it with the Vadar doesn't give you that capacity that we know of now. Maybe we can work on it going forward. I don't know. Like, Kenny, you got anything to say on that?
Sean, has some-
I just wanted to ask, I know I can review the spreadsheet that Steve was referring to, the budget variance overview. And then I also wanted to ask, last year we included a pie chart and graphs as well. Are we looking to include that again?
I would say yes.
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 It's
Yes.
page 10 and 11 from last year's FinCom report.
Right, and then your number in that pie chart is gonna be reflective of these 11 to 12 changes that we've just made in the last couple of weeks.
Correct.
To the
Yep.
changes to the Vadar number, school and okay.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to make sure that pages 10 and 11, that you would like to repeat that again.
I do. So I guess, is that the sense of the committee, the answer is an affirmative, correct?
Yes.
Sean, you're fine with that?
Well, I'm good with that. My question actually was with regard to Rick a moment ago on the page 2. And I was wondering whether or not in showing those percentages from the increase from last May, whether or not we should simply put a footnote in there just to say that, it's inclusive of any changes that would have occurred in the fall meeting.
Yeah.
Probably should.
That makes sense.
Seeing those percentages will drive questions. So you may be able to head off some of those questions in there by putting in a footnote.
If I could add, or can I ask a question? I thought the budget overview variance sheet, is that what we're talking about? That's where we would include that, correct?
We could do it both places.
We could both places. See, we put a note, a letter in the front of the finance committee report. That's what we're discussing now.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that yet. Okay, got it.
You could even in fact reference that. You could even in fact, reference that other variant sheet within that footnote if somebody wanted more information.
Right.
You're correct.
Great idea.
Thank you, Sean, for your participation there. Is anybody else?
Only other comment that I have is, third paragraph says, for the most part, the budget is balanced. But the budget is balanced, so.
Yep.
Got it.
Wait, Kenny, if you may, come back. In previous years, you know, if we were balanced, we were within $15,000-$20,000. Just out of curiosity, why do we have to be balanced to the penny now?
So the last couple of years, we've talked to S&P, and they find having a balanced budget to be favorable. You know, I think it's presentation, and I think we want to continue having a good presentation to S&P. You know, that's my opinion. I know in the past we haven't had a balanced budget, and you know, just the feedback that I've gotten from S&P, they find it to be very favorable. So that would be my recommendation, to continue with a balanced budget. They find it to be best practice.
I accept that. I understand what you said, but you know, for many years, you know, 20, 30,000, we were close, and then we took care of it in November or October, whenever we set the tax rate.
Used to be 100,000.
Yeah, at one point it was 100,000. We're good.
As long as we were under 100,000, favorable.
But if I could, at that time,
Things have changed.
we didn't talk to S&P during those days. And I do recall that. I do recall not having a balanced budget. And then I remember Derek's first year, we didn't have a balanced budget. And then, you know, we talked about that, and we thought a balanced budget would be the way to go. And then talking to S&P, they reaffirmed that. So they found it to be favorable. So that would be my recommendation.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any other issue, any discussion? Anything else? When do we need to have another meeting?
Well, we want to approve that, right? It's going to go to print for our next meeting, right? So do we want to approve that letter?
And when does that have to go to print? April
A
8th.
week from today, tomorrow.
Yeah, hopefully we have personnel to make the FinCom report, so, we're gonna have to put that together.
What happened?
Well, no, I'll speak offline on that.
Okay.
We'll get it done. Yeah, get me all the paperwork, and we will get the document together to send it off to print. We do try to, I think the date on the calendar is April 8th, so we have them back for May 5th, but we might have like maybe a week's leeway in that.
Yeah, I think the usual.
I'll send it out tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if you guys just want to review, and Kenny's the key because he's the one who came back with most of the comments saying this doesn't make sense or something like that. So.
Okay.
Good.
And Kenny will get back to us over the weekend, right, Kenny?
Yes.
We'll give Kenny the weekend to take a look at it.
I see these emails. I see these emails that are generated at 11:56 p.m. and
It's where I do my best work.
14 a.m.
It's where I do my best work.
All right, Sean, do you have anything else to add?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, we will monitor to see what's going on with the discussion regarding the Mechanic Street property, and keep everybody advised, and we will meet accordingly as needed.
Just if anyone's interested, CPC is meeting, they just posted their meeting on Wednesday, April 6th at 7:30, and there'll be a virtual component, and Open Space is supposed to be doing a presentation. I think it will probably be very similar to what we saw
A couple of weeks ago.
But that will be on it in case anybody's interested.
Having no further business, we'll accept the motion to adjourn at 8:35.
Make a motion to adjourn at 8:35.
Second.
Beat you to it. Paul Flaherty, aye.
Steve Byrne, aye.
Nick Haskell, aye.
Rick McGuire, aye.
Sean Craig, aye.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Hey, what's